Class. Today we are going to discuss about a topic called as Ogive curves from the unit statistics. In your previous classes, you have learned about the methods of finding the method of central tendency, arithmetic mean, mode and median, and we tried to solve many number of problems. Now, how is it we are going to represent the statistical data in the form of a graph? So there was a discussion between the teacher and three students. Teacher asked to the students, how do you represent statistical data? Raju said, we use bar diagram. Raghu said, we use histogram, and Reshma said frequency polygon. So the teacher said, all of you are right. We can represent the statistical data in any of the forms. In your previous classes, you have learned about the representation of the data in the graphical form. So here you have got a graph with the blocks. So this data you observe that you got three grades, grade A, grade B and grade C, and you see that the number of students given on the y-axis. So we can easily identify that how many students have got grade A and how many students have got grade B and how many students have got grade C. Children, how many have got grade A? Because you have got that this is 30 here, so 30 students have got grade A, and you see that grade B, 55 students have got grade B and 40 students have got grade C. So this representation you called as bar graph or bar diagram. Now, do you represent the bar graph in the vertical bars? You can also represent the bar graph as horizontal graphs. Now see that here you got a graph where the number of vehicles are given on x-axis and the type of vehicles, bicycles, bikes, scooters, autos and cars given on y-axis, and the representation is given in terms of horizontal bars. Now what is it you observe from this? You see that the number of bicycles are more than any other vehicles and the number of cars are less than any other vehicles. So this representation is also a bar graph. We can also represent the data in the form of histogram, where the x-axis you take class interval and the y-axis frequency. So if at all you take the situation as something like a marks of the students of the class 10, you see that the class interval 0 to 10 marks, 2 students have got, 10 to 20 marks, 4 students have got, and go on. So this representation of graphs is what is called as histogram. And we have taken one more representation here, where you have taken on x-axis you take number of students and y-axis you take number of marks, and we have taken the histogram as it is. Then we take the midpoint of the class interval and put the points here, and when you try to join these with the lines, we get a polygon. That is what is called as frequency polygon. We also have taken the midpoints of class interval and the frequency on x-axis and y-axis respectively, and join them with a free hand. We got it as frequency curve. So we have got bar graph, we have got histogram, we have got frequency polygon, we have got frequency curve. We can also have a pie diagram. So all these representations of data you have learned in your 8th class and earlier to that. So how is it you represent data where you got cumulative frequency? So in your previous class you have taken about the median. In median you have discussed about cumulative frequency. So how do you represent cumulative frequency data on a graph sheet? So the Raju, Rohit and Reshma could not answer the question, and the teacher tried to discuss this topic. So today's topic is the representation of cumulative frequency on a graph. That representation is what is called as Ogive curves. So today we are going to learn about Ogive curves. So the learning objective of the Ogive curves are the student will be able to represent less than and greater than cumulative frequency as curves, and also locate the median on them. So you are going to represent both a less than cumulative frequency curve and also greater than cumulative frequency curve, and we can also find out a median from this graph. So what exactly is a cumulative frequency curve? The graph representing the cumulative frequency of a grouped frequency distribution against the corresponding lower or upper boundaries of respective class intervals is called cumulative frequency curve or an Ogive curve. See, you are going to take the lower or upper boundaries on one axis and the cumulative frequency on another axis. The graph representing this is what is called as cumulative frequency curve. So how is it you represent a cumulative frequency? We represent using the curve called as Ogive. The term Ogive is pronounced as Ogive, O-J-E-E-V, and is derived from the word Og. They are also called as osides, and they are used to estimate how many number of people lie below or above a particular value in a data. So we can estimate how many are below or how many are above the particular value in a given data using a Ogive curve. Is similar to S. So you got a concave arc and you also have a convex arc. So the concave arc is flowing over a convex arc. So Ogive is a shape consists of a concave arc flowing into a convex arc and forming a S-shaped curve with a vertical end. So you see that this shape is something like a S-shaped which is extended on either side. So the S is stretched. So the cumulative frequency curve or Ogive curve is used to compare study of two or more frequency distributions. We can also relate the patterns of two or more frequency distributions using the Ogive curves. So it is very, very important to know about Ogive curves and how to represent the Ogive curves. So there are basically two types of Ogive curves. One type is what is called as Ogive curve of less than type, or you can say cumulative frequency curve of less than type. And second type is Ogive curve of more than type, and we can also call it as cumulative frequency curve of more than type. So Ogive curve of less than type and Ogive curve of more than type. So what exactly is Ogive curve of less than type or cumulative frequency curve of less than type? So to know about the graph representing the cumulative frequencies of less than type of a grouped frequency against the corresponding upper boundaries of respective class intervals is called less than cumulative frequency curve or an Ogive curve of less than type. So you are going to represent the upper boundaries as well as cumulative frequency of less than type on each of the axes, and the graph obtained is what is called as Ogive curve of less than type. So how is that you are going to represent Ogive curves? What are the steps you are going to follow to draw an Ogive curve? So we are going to follow some basic steps. So steps to draw less than Ogive curve. So first thing is you are going to draw the horizontal axis and vertical axis. We need to prepare a cumulative frequency table of less than type, and you are going to mark the upper boundaries along the horizontal axis, also called as x-axis, with a suitable scale. Now we are going to take the cumulative frequencies which you have found out in the table along the vertical axis or y-axis with a suitable scale. So on x-axis you are going to take upper boundaries, on y-axis you are going to take cumulative frequencies. Now you are going to plot the points, the upper boundaries and the corresponding cumulative frequency. So you need to name it as xi comma fi. So you are going to represent all these points on the graph sheet. Now we are going to join all the points with a freehand smooth curve. So the curve you get is what is called as less than Ogive curve. So to know about these steps, let us take a example here. So here you have got a marks of 50 students in mathematics. The first row is the marks and second row is the number of students. So the marks obtained in the range 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, 30 to 40, 40 to 50 and 50 to 60, and the number of students or frequency given in the second row 4, 7, 18, 11, 6, 4. So you are going to draw this as a Ogive curve or represent this as a Ogive curve. So for that we need to draw a table and find out less than cumulative frequency. So we need to develop a table called as cumulative frequency distribution of less than type. The first column you are going to take class interval or marks, second column you are going to take frequency or the number of students. So the given information, the marks are given as 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, 30 to 40, 40 to 50 and 50 to 60, and the frequencies are given as 4, 7, 18, 11, 6, 4. Now children, from this you are going to obtain the upper boundary. So here you got the interval as 0 to 10. So 0 is what is the lower boundary and 10 is what is the upper boundary. Likewise 10 to 20, 10 is the lower boundary and 20 is the upper boundary. So if at all you take the upper boundaries, the first value is going to be 10, the second value is going to be 20, third value is going to be 30 and 40, then 50 and finally 60. So you got the upper boundaries as 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Now the last column you are going to fill up with the less than cumulative frequency. Children, how is it you are going to represent a less than cumulative frequency? Recollect it. So for that you are going to take the first frequency value as it is and represent it as the first element of the class interval 0 to 10. So the less than cumulative frequency here is 4. Now this 4 you are going to add to the frequency of the next class 7. So we get 4 plus 7 as 11. So that is what is the cumulative frequency for from 0 to 20. So if at all you say that the interval is 0 to 20 here, so 20 students, so you got 4 plus 7 is 11 here. So you can say that 11 students have got less than 20 marks. Likewise this 11 you are going to add to 18, the frequency of our current class. So 11 plus 18 is 29. So 29 is a frequency, the cumulative frequency of the class interval 20 to 30, or you can say 29 students have got less than 30 marks. So likewise 29 plus 11 is 40 and 40 plus 6 is equal to 46, and finally 46 plus 4 is going to be 50. That is what is the less than cumulative frequency of the last class. So you observe that this is 50, that is what is the total number of students. So it is mass, so our table is absolutely right. Now you are going to plot a graph here. So you are going to take on x-axis the boundaries and on y-axis the cumulative frequency. So you see that the upper boundaries and less than cumulative frequency are given here. So we take these as points. So we plot the points corresponding to the ordered pairs given as upper boundaries and less than cumulative frequency. So upper boundaries were 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 and 60, and less than cumulative frequency we got it is 4, 11, 29, 40, 46 and 50. So thereby you are getting the points 10, 4, 20, 11, 30, 29, 40, 40, 50, 46 and 60, 50. So we are going to represent these points on a graph sheet. So we need to take up on the x-axis the upper boundaries, on the y-axis the less than cumulative frequency or the number of students. The first we need to take a suitable scale here, and because you have got the upper boundary is given as 10, 20, 30, 40 here. So on x-axis for every 2 centimeters you can take 10 marks, and on y-axis for every 2 centimeters you can take 10 students. We can as well manipulate this scale as per our convenience. So here we have taken for 2 centimeters 10 marks and for 2 centimeters 10 students. So you see that we have taken the upper boundaries as 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 and 50, 60 and 70, and the number of students on y-axis as 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So there is a clear gap of 2 centimeters for each of the point. Likewise there is a clear gap of 2 centimeters. Now we are going to represent these points. The first point is 10, 4. So x value is 10, y value here is 4. Roughly you have to see where exactly 4 here, right? Likewise, second point is 20 and corresponding y value is 11. So 20, 11. Third point is 30 and the corresponding y value is 29. And the fourth point is 40 and corresponding y value is also 40. Fifth point is 50 and 46. And finally 60, 50. So the upper boundary is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 are covered, and the cumulative frequencies 4, 11, 29, 40, 46 and 56 are also covered. Now we are going to represent this with a free hand curve. So you join them with a free hand, so you got a curve here like this. Now what is the shape here? You see that it is almost shape of S here. So it is an Ogive curve of less than type. So children, I hope that you understood the way of representing the Ogive curve of less than type. Now if at all you want to find the median of this data, so to find the median, to obtain the median from the Ogive curve, we locate n by 2 on y axis. So what is n? Total number of observations. So here for the problem n is 50 here, so you are going to find out what is the value of n by 2 on y axis. Then we are going to take up the Ogive curve. From this point we draw a line parallel to x axis. That line is touching the curve at this point, and this line is parallel to x axis. From this point you drop a perpendicular onto the x axis. So the foot of the perpendicular here, the foot of the perpendicular where the perpendicular cuts the x axis, determine the median. So this point is going to be the median of the data. So when you go to the previous problem here, where you got x axis the upper boundaries and y axis number of students, we got the Ogive curve like this. Now to locate the median, we are going to find out the value of n by 2. So here you observe that value of n is 50. So n by 2 is 50 by 2, 50 by 2 is 25. So locate 25 onto the y axis, you observe it here. Now from this point you are going to draw a line parallel to the upper boundaries or x axis, where it cuts the curve at a point. So you see that this line is parallel to x axis. Now this curve is meeting, this line is meeting the curve at this point. From here you are going to drop a perpendicular onto the x axis. So here the median is 29 centimeters. So the median of the data given is 29. It is definitely between 20 and 30, so it is acceptable. You can also try to verify the median with the formula method which you have learned in your previous class. Now after knowing about less than cumulative frequency curve, we are going to discuss about another type of cumulative frequency curve called as more than cumulative frequency curve or Ogive curve of more than type. So the graph representing the cumulative frequency of more than type or greater than type of a grouped frequency distribution against the corresponding lower boundaries of respective class intervals is called more than cumulative frequency curve or Ogive curve of more than type. So you are going to take on x axis the lower boundaries, on y axis you are going to take the more than cumulative frequency. That is what the basic difference between the less than and greater than. So in less than you have taken upper boundaries and less than cumulative frequency, whereas in more than you are going to take lower boundaries and more than cumulative frequency. How is it you represent the more than Ogive curve? So we are going to follow some basic steps. Step 1, draw the horizontal and vertical axis. Step 2, mark lower boundaries along the horizontal axis with a suitable scale. Step 3, mark more than cumulative frequencies along the y axis with a suitable scale. Then we are going to take the points the xi comma fi, where xi is the lower boundary of the class and fi is the corresponding cumulative frequency of more than type. And finally join these points with a freehand smooth curve, we get a more than Ogive curve. So the process is similar to the less than Ogive curve, only thing is you are going to take lower boundaries on x axis and corresponding frequency as more than cumulative frequency on the y axis. So we take the problem here of 50 students of mathematics, the marks and number of students, the marks and the frequency given here, we are going to represent more than OG curve. So for that we take up a table here. The first column and second column are the class intervals and the frequencies. We already know about the class intervals and frequencies, the given problem. Now we are going to take the third column as lower boundaries. So what are the lower boundaries here, children? Here in 0 to 10, the lower boundary should be 0. So the first value is going to be 0. Likewise, the second value is going to be 10. Next, you get 20, you get 30, you get 40, and finally you get 50. So these are the lower boundaries of the class intervals. Likewise, you are going to find out the more than cumulative frequency. Children, recollect how is it you find the more than cumulative frequency? The first value you are going to take is the highest value, which is 50. So 50 is highest value, so put mark 50 here. Then correspondingly, the 50 minus the frequency of the previous class 4, 50 minus 4 is 46. Next 46 minus 7 is 39. 39 minus 11 is 21. 21 minus 11 is 10, and 10 minus 6 is 4. So you got the more than cumulative frequency here. You see that this is what is more than cumulative frequency, and these are the lower boundaries. After getting this, you are going to plot these lower boundaries and more than cumulative frequency. So we got to have a trace points. The plot points corresponding to the ordered pair are given by lower boundary and corresponding more than cumulative frequency. So lower boundaries and more than cumulative frequencies are given as pair of points 0, 50, 10, 46, 20, 39, 30, 21, 40, 10, and 54. So we are going to represent this on a graph sheet. So on x-axis here you are going to take lower boundaries, on y-axis you are going to take more than cumulative frequency. So select a suitable scale. So we have taken x-axis 2 centimeters is 10 marks, y-axis 2 centimeters is equal to 10 students. So we represent this on x-axis as well as y-axis, the boundaries, then the boundaries and more than cumulative frequency. The first point you see here is 0, 50. You have got 0 on x-axis, y value 50. Likewise 10, 46, 20, 39, 30, 21, 40, 10, 50, 4. So all these points you are going to join with a free hand. So you are going to get a curve like this. Now you see that the curve again is similar to the S type, so it is called as more than cumulative frequency curve or OG curve of more than type. So the difference between the earlier version and this version, the earlier version it was increasing, less than it was increasing, and here it is decreasing. So we can locate the median for this data using the same method what you have followed for the less than cumulative frequency. So you are going to find out the value of n by 2. The value of n by 2, n is 50 here, 50 by 2 is 25. So on the y-axis, locate the point 25, draw a line parallel to the x-axis touching the curve. So see, it is touching the curve here. From this point you are going to draw up a perpendicular. So you got 29 students. So there is another method of representing the median from the OG curve. So let us discuss about this. We need to draw both OG curves, less than type and greater than type, on same axis. The two OGUs will intersect each other at a point. So the point you draw a perpendicular. From this point, if you draw a perpendicular to the x-axis, the point at which it cuts the x-axis gives us a median. So it is almost similar to the earlier version. Only difference here is these two OG curves at meet at a point. From that point you drop a perpendicular. Wherever it is cutting the x-axis, that is what is the median. So we got the marks and number of students given here. So we draw both less than OG curve and more than OG curve here on the same scale. Then we are going to take up from the point of intersection, drop a perpendicular onto the x-axis. We observe that again the point where it is cutting the x-axis is 29, so the median is 29. So you can employ any method you like to find the median, whether it is drawing using the first method or using the second method, you are going to get the same answer. Let us take another example here. The annual profit earned by 30 shops in lakhs in a town is given as follows. So the profit in lakhs and number of shops. So we got more than or equal to 5, more than or equal to 10, more than or equal to 15, more than or equal to 20, and so on, and the values given here as 30, 29, 60, 14, 10, 7, 3. And so whenever you got more than here, it means that this is what is not simple frequency, it is more than cumulative frequency. Table showing both the cumulative frequency. The first we are going to take the more than cumulative frequency given to us, 30, 28, 16, 14, 10, 7, 3, and you take the class intervals. To get the class intervals, we have got the information as more than every time, so more than, that is 5, more than 10, more than 15, more than 20, more than 25, more than 30, more than 35. So because you got second row as more than 10, so you take the class interval as 5 to 10, 10 to 15, 15 to 20, and so on. So from this you can easily identify what are the lower boundaries. So the lower boundaries are 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, and 35. And to get the frequency here, see you got the more than cumulative frequency as 30 and here as 28. So you take difference of 30 and 28. So 30 minus 28 is 2 here. 28 minus 16, the value is 12. 16 minus 14, the value is 2. 14 minus 10, the value is 4. 10 minus 7, the value is 3. 7 minus 3, the value is 4. And finally this value as it is copied here. So the frequency is given here. So once you know the frequencies and the class interval, you can also find the upper boundaries. So you see the upper boundaries given here, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, copied as it is. Now to get the less than cumulative frequency, the first value should be as it is written here, 2. Next 2 to 2 here, you're going to add 12, so 2 plus 12, 14, 14 plus 2 here, 16, 16 plus 4, 20, so 20 plus 3, 23, 23 plus 4, 27, 27 plus 3, 30. So this is what is the less than cumulative frequency. So after getting this, first of all you are going to represent the more than cumulative frequency information. So first you got the more than cumulative frequency and take the x values as lower boundaries. You are going to get the more than OG curve. So we observe that more than cumulative frequency is given, so we plot lower limits of the profit along the x-axis and more than cumulative frequency along the y-axis. So the plot points are 5, 30, 10, 28, 15, 16, 20, 14, 25, 10, 37, and 35, 3. So these points have to be represented on a graph sheet and join these points with a smooth curve. So let us see how it is being done. The graph sheet, on the x-axis you take lower boundaries, on y-axis the number of shops, or you can say the more than cumulative frequency. The x-axis we take the scale as x-axis 2 centimeters is equal to 5 lakh rupees and y-axis 2 centimeters is equal to 5 shops. So the first point you are going to represent these values. The first point you got is here, so you can represent the first point, second point, 5, 30, 10, 28, 15, 16, 20, 14, 25, 10, 37, 35, 3. All these points have to be joined with a free hand. So you have been getting a curve like this. This is what is the more than OG curve. Now what you are going to do is, on the same graph we are going to take the less than OG curve. So using these values, we plot the points. The point this time we are going to take upper boundaries and less than cumulative frequencies from the table. So the upper boundaries are given as 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, and 40. And corresponding less than cumulative frequencies 2, 14, 16, 20, 23, 27, and 30. So we are going to represent this on a graph sheet. So what you get is so these points are represented on the graph sheet like this. Now we join them. Now you see that these two curves are meeting at a point. From this point you drop a perpendicular onto the x-axis. So the point where it is meeting the x-axis, this point is going to be the median. So the median is 17.5 centimeters. So children, you have understood the second variety of problem also. Let us take some practice questions here. The first question, the following distribution gives the daily income of 50 workers of the factory. So the first column, the first information is daily income in rupees, and second information is number of workers. So 250 to 300, 300 to 350, 350 to 400, 400 to 450, 450 to 500, and the corresponding number of workers are given as 12, 14, 8, 6, 10. So from this information, you are going to draw a less than cumulative frequency distribution curve. So you are going to draw less than OG curve for this. So for further practice, you take your 10th class textbook and try to practice the questions from it. Thank you all children.
డిజిటల్ తరగతులను వీక్షిస్తున్న